welcome to another wonderful time. It's been a very lovely time since morning. Welcome back from the AM News. Of course, we are here to bring you to speed with happenings around the world from the national dailies. We got into discussing one or two things, then reviewing the papers, then the AM News, and now we're here for the first conversation for the day. Today we want to look at something very important, and of course, a lot of people in Nigeria right now are very, very keen about what is happening in the economy. And of course, the GDP. So today, I want us to look at the growth of the GDP and the sector that has actually contributed to this growth. Because if you say a GDP is growing, a sector must have contributed to the growth. And what are the factors that actually led to this growth on its own? And of course, the downsides of the growth. And we have Dennis joining us on the program today. As a matter of fact, Dennis is an economist, is a developmental economist, and he's also a researcher. And of course, he has a lot to do with data analysis too. And the topic basically is economic development, GDP growth, and of course the implications is worth talking about. Remember, the budget has just been passed, and a lot of people are asking questions because some Nigerians don't even know how things are going. Some will tell you the economy, but if you sit them down to tell you one or two things about the economy, they don't even know what to say, for some anyway, but some persons actually know their audience. So Dennis Adesanoye is right here with us this morning. It's good to have you join us on Global Morning today.
Good morning, Mr. Ramsey. It's always a pleasure being here.
All right, let's quickly look at the GDP because a lot is going on. A lot of people are saying so many things. And of course, after the budget was passed, a lot of people were asking questions. Where are we? What's happening to the GDP? You know, is it growing? Who is making it grow? And all of that. So let's look at a few things. As a matter of fact, the National Bureau of Statistics, like we all know, the National Bureau of Statistics, as we speak, recently announced Nigeria's gross domestic product, and that is GDP. Anytime we say GDP is an acronym for gross domestic product. The growth rose to 3.4%, as a matter of fact, for year-on-year in 2024. So right now, let's begin to look at the GDP now. So what is GDP? First of all, the people need to know what is GDP. When we say gross domestic product, some persons are saying, are they speaking Latin? What are they saying? So let's get started with what GDP is. Then, as a matter of fact, why is it important at all? All right, important economic indicator of this GDP. What are they? Can you just give us an enlightenment?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ramsey. What about the gross domestic product, that GDP? GDP can be defined as the total value of the goods and services produced in an economy in a particular year or particular quarter or month. So, but basically, it's been being brought out of quarterly or yearly. So it shows, the value of production in a particular country. It shows what they're able to produce in the whole economy in a given year. Why you talk about a GDP growth rate? GDP growth rate measures the persistent change, in the production, in the economic production of a country, maybe quarterly or yearly, from year to year, from quarter to quarter. So the growth rate now measures the percentage increase in the production of goods and services in the country over the years. For last year, according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, the economy grew by 3.4%. That was year on year, compared to the 2.8% growth we recorded in 2023. So throughout last year, the economy was able to grow by 3.4%. Also, the last quarter of last year, which was the Q4 2024, the economy grew by 3.84%. That's when you compare that now to the corresponding quarter in 2023, that's the Q4 2023, so which was 3.46%. So last year, for it to have grown at the last quarter by 3.84% was was good. And also, if you consider it to the previous quarter, that's Q3 of last year, that was also 3.46%. So having the economy grow by 3.48% in the last of the year was something that was very good. I want to talk about what led to the growth.
Yes, I wanted to ask what really led to the growth.
To answer that question, definitely, I think the reform agenda of the government is beginning to yield little fruit.
I always get that clear. The reform agenda, the policy.
Yeah, we're going to see little gains now.
Okay.
They're very little. We're going to see them. This could be attributed to, I'll say, three things. The first thing is that, due to the combination of fiscal and monetary policies adjustment in the economy last year. Remember that there were a lot of adjustments at the fiscal side, that's the government side, the Minister of Finance, the federal government, and also the monetary space, that's for the CBN now. There were some adjustments which they both carried out. So the combination of all these adjustments was a key factor that led to this economic growth we witnessed last year. And also another factor can also be the liberalization in the economic space. We've seen that the economy had a lot of liberalization compared to what we had before. Now we see the market force of demand and supply determine the fuel price compared to when government would just fixed the fuel price. So now we've seen some economic liberalization in the economy. And also thirdly, we can see that there's some investment in some sectors, some key sectors of the economy. There's some investment there. So these three factors to me are the key reasons why the economy witnessed a 3.4% growth last year. And also, in addition to that, we can see that there's some macroeconomic stability. There's some macroeconomic stability fundamentals that were witnessed last year. This macroeconomic stability fundamentals, led to let me put it this way. There are three factors as well that's also stabilized the macroeconomic stability last year. And these three factors also boosted investors' confidence in the Nigerian economy. So, we have more foreign investors coming to the economy last year. Even local investors, they now have more confidence in the economy due to three things. The first thing is that fuel subsidy has been removed our fuel subsidy. And of course, now you have the market force of demand and supply determine, the fuel prices. So no longer that the government is now regulating that sector. So that gave investors confidence to bring their money and invest in the economy. Also, another point that led to stability in the macroeconomic fundamental last year was also the exchange rate. We can see that the unification of the exchange rate was one of the big factors that gave investors confidence to invest in the economy. And of course, lastly, we can see that these aggressive tax reforms of the government also boosted the investors' confidence to invest in the economy like we have before. And also, some factors also contributed to the increase in this GDP. We can see that some increment we've seen increment in the foreign direct investment in FDIs, in FPIs, and that means in foreign direct investment and even foreign portfolio investment. We've seen increased, in that area, especially in the fintech area, in the industrial area. We've seen some FDIs coming in. So all these factors sum up together and led to the increment in the GDP value from 2.8 in 2023 to 3.4% last year.
So what is the GDP performance of the different sectors in the economy in the outgone year? And our viewers would be interested, as a matter of fact, for you to break it down, as a matter of fact, because we need all of this so that we can be sure of what we are seeing, the breakdown. Let Nigerians know, because when you made mention of the fact that at least the economy is picking up a little bit, someone who is not an economist will not understand. So we need a little breakdown for our viewers as we get into this question now.
Okay, actually, we'll talk about the GDP figure coming out. The GDP is broken down into different sectors. They also shows growth from different sectors. You have the service sector, agri sector, manufacturing sector, real estate sector, ICT sector. So many sectors' growth will be considered. So when they sum up together, that's what brings about the total, the aggregate GDP. So some sectors performed very well, while some didn't perform very well. The GDP growth for Nigeria last year saw the service sector as a major driver of the economic growth we witnessed last year. And what are the service sector? We're talking about the telecom sector, the banking sector, and of course, telecom sector, banking sector. So this sector, alongside trade sector, were the major driver of the economy last year, because we saw the service sector, grow by 5.86%, and of course, it contributed of 57.38% to the total GDP figure for Nigeria last year. So this service sector was a very real contributor, a very real driver. I was talking about the fintech sector, the banking sector, and of course the telecom sector. So we saw it has a robust growth last year. It usually drove the economy, but unfortunately some key sectors did not do very well last year. For example, the manufacturing sector contracted. The same with the agri sector. In economics, when you mean they contracted, that means the growth went down. When we say an economic contrast, that means that we have a decline growth in that sector. So we saw agri sector, they grew, but they recorded
farm because of the security problems.
Of course, they recorded slow growth. The same thing with manufacturing sector. Recorded slow growth. They grew, but the growth was sluggish. One was the sluggish growth, so which wasn't truly good enough. Of course, we have the electricity sector also experienced slow growth in the course of the year. This is due to the fact that we have incessant collapse of the national grid, and of course we have continued vandalization of critical power infrastructure all over the country last year. So this led to a slow growth for the electricity sector, and of course, this slow growth in that sector has hindered industrial productivity, and also led to increase in the production cost for companies, because that sector didn't grow. I think about 2-3 days ago, the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria came out to say that 40% of their of their operation cost is being spent on power generation. So they spent 40% of their production cost on power generation, which means they have been forced to generate their own power supply in those industrial sector. So that's why we've seen this sector, not really growing well last year as well. But one good thing about the GDP report was that for the first time in almost a decade, I think about 8 or 9 years, we saw the petroleum refining sector, growing. It has been contrasting the last 8 or 9 years. It has been declining. GDP growth for that sector has been declining in the last 8 years. But for the first time in almost a decade, we saw, an increased GDP growth for the refinery sector, which was a 9.6%, a massive one, 9.6%. And this is majorly due to the commencement of refining in Dangote Refinery, and also NPC Refinery. One of them is working right now with Dangote Refinery. So that's why we saw an increased GDP growth in that petroleum refining sector of 9.6% last year. But majorly, in a nutshell, the service and the trade sector were the major drivers of the economy in last year.
All right, we're looking at something very important here. But then, having gone through the 2024 GDP report now, like we've just done, we've gone through the report, we've had an understanding of why we had this growth, the sectors that actually made this happen. And now, I think it's important, because having gone through this 2024 report now, are you satisfied with the overall state of the economy in the year on that reference? Because it is one thing to have this growth, it's one thing to be satisfied with it. You're now as an expert, are you satisfied? If you're satisfied, you tell us why. If you're not satisfied, you tell us why, so that Nigerians, our viewers, can actually cue into this growth.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ramsey. The GDP report is not all it's not all good things about the GDP reports. Personally, there were some downsides in the GDP report. The GDP report shows that the economy rely much on the service sector and the trade sector. These two sectors powered the GDP growth we witnessed last year. So it shows that we didn't have inclusive growth last year. So, major sectors of the economy, key sectors of the economy did not contribute to this growth. Agri sector, manufacturing sector, consumer sector, they did not contribute to, they did not contribute much to this growth. So, relying on trade and service sector, to grow the economy isn't healthy for the economy, to say. It's not so healthy for the economy when you have the service sector and the trade sector powering, economic growth. These two things, because although there's positive growth in the economy, everybody can see clearly, but there are critical concerns, about real productivity and also economic, shall I say, stability. Because why? When you have growth coming from this sector, it's not reliable. The gains you achieve over this period of time can be easily wiped off because these sectors, we're not seeing real growth in the industrial sector.
So that's the implication now.
Because there's no real productivity. There are some concerns about it. It's good to see the positive growth, but where it's coming from, we're not comfortable with the sector that is really coming from because agri sector is not powering it. We're not seeing mineral sector is not powering it. So there's some concerns now about economic stability. It may not be sustainable. It may not lead to stability because the reliance on service sector, with declined contribution coming from agri sector, from manufacturing sector, process, should I say, process sustainability risk for the economy. It shows that it's a threat. It may not be sustainable because if it's coming from agri sector, I would be very happy. It can be sustained,
especially now that there is complaint everywhere about telecom tariff hike and all of that. So everything can happen, and it will affect the
telecom sector as part of the service sector because they grew very well. Fintech, banking, telecom sector.
Yeah,
fintech and the service sector that really propelled the growth we witnessed in the economy in 2024. So economic growth, that largely driven by trade and service sector, on a very good day, ought to have been complemented by robust expansion in the agricultural sector and manufacturing sector or the industrial sector so that it can create quality jobs, so that it can enhance the value addition to the economy, and so that it can also boost food production and agriculture in the economy. So we've seen growth in the service and trade sector, but it would have been good if it was complemented by growth by robust expansion as well in the agri sector and industrial sector. This will have created quality jobs to enhance value addition to our economy, and all that. But by and large, having a 3.8% economic growth is a positive sign. Let's be realistic. It's a positive sign that we begin to see little dividends of these structural reforms embarked upon, by the president. For example, so far Nigeria is going through economic challenges. We all know that. So the economy to have grown at 3.4 despite the economic challenges we've seen, last year is a very positive sign for the economy. But the fact remains that this economic growth needs to be translated into tangible economic benefits for Nigerians. So we need to translate this economic growth to tangible benefit that people can see, people can witness, can put food on their table. So that's my issue with the GDP report. It's a positive sign.
So these implications now, because we are happy for the shift, at least, despite the challenging and dwindling economy, the experience of 2024. A lot of people said 2024 is one year that we cannot forget in a hurry because of the experience, Nigerians went through so much. But then, despite that, we had a little growth. Now, we've seen the implication. As an expert, what would be your advice to the federal government, to those in the manufacturing industry, those in other key sectors that should try, or what do they need to do so that their own effort can also complement that of these service sectors that were able to make us have is the banking sector, the fintech, then the telcos? So what's your advice?
Thank you very much. Before I get to your advice, like I said at the time, that the growth there was not inclusive. So
yes.
Not inclusive. It may not be sustainable. May not be sustainable. For example, let me give an example. Maybe you have a football team now. Your striking force, your attack is doing very well, scoring goals, contributes to the team's achievement, to the team victory. Maybe your midfield department is not really growing very well. Your defense is growing but very sluggish growth. The attack alone cannot propel you to victory because you might score 5 goals in a game, but your defense is not good. You concede 7 goals. You still end up losing. So that's why I'm saying that they're not inclusive. That there's some gaps need to be covered in these sectors, in the agri sector, manufacturing sector, in the construction sector. We need to cover some gaps. They are growing.
So they need attention right now,
of course. And of course, they need to grow by at least 5% GDP growth in a year for us to have a good economy. So when we talk about what does the government need to do to really make sure that we sustain this growth, because this year now the effort should be on ground to make sure that they sustain this growth. I think first of all, the government needs to remove some structural bottlenecks that are hindering productivity in some sectors, some key sectors. There are some structural bottlenecks that are hindering their productivity. For example, in the agri sector, there are a lot of bottlenecks there. Farmers can't go to the farm, mechanization and all that. In the industrial sector, the cost of production is very high, the diesel. So we need to remove these bottlenecks that are really hindering productivity in key sectors of the economy. And also, government need to to advance government thinking, Nigeria needs to develop a comprehensive industrial strategy that can boost our local manufacturing capacity. We are not producing enough in this country. We need to start producing. So when we produce, we can earn foreign exchange. We can improve our exchange rate. We can have more money to spend. So we need to develop a comprehensive industrial strategy that can really boost our local production. And also, this year, I expect the government to as well, invest in mechanization, irrigation, and maybe improve seed varieties so that we can boost agri production and also food production. There needs to be investment in that area. Mechanized farming should be the order of the day. We need to give farmers irrigation, give farmers a lot of support, because we need to have robust growth in that agri sector this year, so that we can have a sustainable and inclusive economic growth. And as well, government needs to address economic insecurity, especially in those areas where they produce food. There are still problems in Benue. Some farmers can't still go to farm. This is the food bank of the nation in the northwest. The nation relies on them for some key agri products. Farmers, they can't still go to farm, due to insecurity. So government needs to address this insecurity concern this year. And of course, to have a social economy this year as well, government needs to invest in key infrastructure like roads, like the power sector, like ports. So we need in these areas are already taken care of. I expect a robust growth this year.
All right, this is 2025. We expect, you've already talked about the sustainability, what should be done so that it should be sustained, right? We've talked about what can be done for it to be sustained in 2025. We've talked about that already.
Yeah.
Then now, what is your outlook or prediction for the Nigerian economy in this year 2025? Because a lot of people the expectation is so much. Like you said something just now, no matter the grammar we speak, if not until Nigerians begin to have some tangible feelings of the economy, they won't know anything is happening. But then I think it's so good that the GDP is speaking of, the economy is speaking of, there is a growth, even though it's not all encompassing. Yes, it's not all inclusive. So now, can we look at the outlook of prediction for Nigeria as economy this year 2025? The year is just starting. This is March.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. I for one, I think I can forecast a sustained positive economic growth trajectory for Nigeria this year. What I mean is that I expect the economic growth recorded last year to be sustained this year. It's very little growth we recorded last year. We see little signs. So I expect I forecast that the growth will likely be retained this year. So that's what I'm saying. I see a positive economic growth trajectory in the economy this year. So far, government can carry out two things. Firstly is that if the federal government can continue the implementation of its structural reforms, if they can continue to, to implement these structural reforms in the economy they are embarking on. And also, number two, government needs to, if government can carry out strategic investment in some key sectors of the economy, like power, like road, we need some strategic investment, not the word strategic, in those areas. We need to, for example, now, we need rail. There's some roads that are routes in Nigeria that are very, very key to the economy. we have to be strategic, invest in these areas, not areas where you don't have, there's no reason for investing there. You just do that for political reason or for political gains. So we need strategic investment in some key sectors of the economy. So if these two things are done, I expect or I forecast a positive economic growth trajectory for the economy this year. But by and large, even if federal government carries out these two areas I talked about, there's some threats to the economic growth of Nigeria this year, even if federal government carry out those two things. First of all, to me, I think there are 3 or 4 threats. The key one is the inflationary pressure this year. Inflation has to be tamed this year. It has to be brought down to a reasonable level. Remember the last time we were on this program, we discussed about how National Bureau of Statistics replaced the CPI calculation, and of course inflation coming down to 24.8% from the 34.8% it was last year. So we need to bring inflation to maybe lower than maybe below 20% this year. Then I expect inflation to keep going down till around May or June. Around May or June, we are still having the adverse period of this period. So we need to make sure that inflationary pressure does not really go beyond what will affect the economy this year. Also, this year, I see exchange rate volatility might also affect the economy. The exchange rate needs to be a bit stable this year. We need this stability over the past few months. This is very good for the economy. Even if the exchange rate, doesn't go to 1,000 to 1,000, it has to be stable. If it's between 1,003 to 1,005 throughout this year, I think it's still a bit good because investors need a stable exchange rate for them to invest. You can, for example, now you're a manufacturer, you can order goods, you can order for maybe for machinery from China, from US at this exchange rate. Before they come back, the rate has gone up. So for economy to really grow this year, we need to tame the volatility in the exchange rate, and also the government need to address security concerns this year if we are to achieve economic growth.
All right, thank you very much, Dennis. Dennis, I want to take you to the 2025 budget a little bit. The budget has been passed. I don't know if you have looked at the budget, and some persons don't even know the implication of the passage of the budget. Generally, what would you want to say about the budget that has been passed? The passage of budget, is it timely? Is it good? What we have, the figures, are they okay? Is it going to contribute to the economy? What do the people need to do? Someone was asking me, the person was, has the money been given to the states already? And all of that. Is it that they need to hit the ground running? Because whether you like it or not, some money will pass through some hands, and some persons are already calculating what they need to take away and all of that. So all of this put together, budget as a whole, a country's budget, of what importance is a country's budget to the growth of the economy, the GDP, we're talking about sectors and all of that?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ramsey. I want to talk about a budget. Even personally, budget is important to us. In the family now, you know how much you earn in a year, in a month, how much you want to spend. So budget is very key to the survival of the economy. However, to me, I don't really bother much about the price of the budget or the figures in the budget. What I really bother on much is the implementation of the budget. How far are you able to implement the budget? How far will your government go in making sure that they achieve the fundamentals in the budget? So for this year now, for the budget to be able to have meaningful impact on the economy, we need to reduce deficit financing. We need to reduce deficit financing. Definitely, how can we reduce deficit financing? We need to grow. We need to grow our, income. Revenue needs to grow. And how can we grow this revenue? It's very good these days that we're having oil production increasing. Most of the budget relies on oil production capacity. So if Nigeria can grow its oil production by maybe close to 1.9 million barrels per day or 2 million barrels per day this year, that will help in the implementation of the budget. Because why? So that can reduce deficit financing. So as well, a government should, ensure that this budget is, is highly implemented to the letter. If they can achieve high implementation rate in the budget this year, I see some light at the end of the tunnel at the end of this year. So I expect the growth to be sustained at the end of this year.
Okay, the growth to be sustained. Oh, all right. You know, a lot of Nigerians right now, like you said, they are very curious. We talked about what Nigerians just heard from everything you've said. Now, if you ask a lot of people, what the majority of the people they take home is that at least the economy is picking up gradually. Now, what would you have to say to Nigerians? Because you made mention of the oil sector, the petroleum sector. At least Dangote Refinery is working now. It's a plus to the people. And of course, Port Harcourt Refinery, we were told it's going to be working, but we don't know how fast they are working on that. We don't know how much product is coming from there. On the whole right now, okay, as an economist, what would you have to say to Nigerians? Because the president have always said there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And this morning, they've said on one of the papers, they said everything they are doing is to balance, to bring stability to the economy globally. That's what they are doing. It's on the paper today. What's your own school of thought looking at what Nigerians are going through right now as an economist? People are hungry. But then a lot happening. Dangote has reduced the price of fuel, the price of barrel at the international market is coming down. I think 67% or something. Yes, well, this morning. So as it is right now, will all of this culminate and make Nigerians smile? This is what we're talking about.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ramsey. I remember I said on this program last year, we talked about the issue between the oil marketers and Dangote. I said that it's good for governments to totally withdraw from the oil sector, the oil price, so that the market forces of demand and supply can determine the actual oil price in the economy. And I remember I said at the time that it will force down the price of crude oil, the price of fuel as time goes on. That this competition is good for the economy, it's healthy. Now we are seeing the competition between Dangote Refinery and the NNPC, which is very good for us. So to me personally, I sympathize with Nigerians because I'm also part of the economy as well. I feel the pains as well. I go through what Nigeria going through. The economic reforms, the structural adjustment of this present government has no doubt brought untold hardship to people, especially the force of the removal and of course the exchange unification has really caused untold hardship for the country. But like I always said, these are necessary policies that need to be embarked upon if Nigeria is to move forward. The country was at the brink of collapse. We needed to remove the subsidy, and of course you can't continue spending over $20 million in a month to keep your exchange rate at a freak level where it shouldn't be. So I support the policies of the government, but just that I saw the government to have put in place some programs to cushion the effect of the hardship on the people. Definitely, this reform will bring hardship to people. So for me, I thought the government to have done this, to have brought shock absorbers in the economy, so that it will ameliorate the suffering of people before they embark on this, crucial economic policy. But it's very good now that we're beginning to see gains of this reform coming. No matter how little they may be, the economy has shown that the economy is gradually recovering from this. But Nigerians need to feel the gains, need to put food on the table. We need to bring the inflation rate. If we can tame inflation rate, I think this will be very good. Like I was saying, to me, insecurity needs to be looked into. We need to look into security. We need to boost food production. Like I said earlier, boosting food production will bring down the inflation rate. When inflation rate comes down, it has direct effect on the economy. People will feel it, masses will feel it. So, this can lead to production. When there's productivity in the economy, when people can, for example, now, I'm a manufacturer, when the cost of production has gone down for me, then I can increase my production, I'll get more sales, I can employ more people. So, if you don't get them, doing this now will increase the aggregate demand in the economy. So, for us, I think Nigerians have tried enough. They are going through a lot, but this year, I expect, for example now, people are now used to the fact that fuel price is between 800 naira and 1000 naira. It might be going up and down, but we are now sure that there's no longer fuel scarcity. is now stable, and of course, we now know that the price of fuel now is being determined by, the price of oil at international market, and of course, the exchange rate. So we know that we may never see oil sell for 500 naira, 400 naira again in our lifetime. It might not be possible again. And of course, but now we can know the brand at which people can buy fuel. Maybe it cannot go beyond 1,000.
The Nigerians are praying that it should drop to 500 to 400. Some are even saying 200.
This prayer, if it happens, if you answer this prayer, it will also have effect negatively on the country. Because why? It can only happen if the crude oil price at the international market goes down. And if it keeps falling, the fuel price will keep going down. The Nigerian revenue will be going down. Remember that.
Okay, we are also exporters.
Of course, the Nigerian market is tied to oil price at the world market. Because more than 80% of our revenue is from the oil sector. So when the oil price globally is coming down, it will affect the masses positively because fuel price will come down, but the economy will suffer. We will not have budget deficit. The government will not have enough money to now carry out their programs in the budget. So that's why we have budget deficit. We will not be forced to be borrowing. So when you borrow, of course, you pay more pressure, it will also lead to inflation, all those things. So you could answer the prayer that oil price should come down to the international market. It's good for the masses, but I can tell you,
it's not good for the economy.
It's not, because
but can't we diversify instead of just concentrating on the crude oil? Are there not other natural resources that we can diversify to and build the economy? But the fuel now affects almost everything. Why is all attention on fuel?
That's why I always talk about agric sector. That's why it was very sad. That's why I wasn't so happy when we discovered that the agricultural sector and the manufacturing sector did not contribute much to the GDP growth we witnessed last year. They had growth, but it was sluggish growth. So that's why I was concerned. We need to produce goods. We need to produce an import so that we can earn foreign exchange, which will give you stable exchange rate. Which should translate, which should boost your economy, which should lead to employment. So we need to put more effort on the manufacturing sector, and that's why I said earlier that we need a comprehensive industrialization strategy to boost our local manufacturing capacity. We're not manufacturing, even blade, we can do it here. Even ordinary blade, even little tools we need for farming, we can do that here. Tractor need to be imported. We are basically producing nothing here. When we come to industrial goods, we're not producing anything. So we need to put more effort in this sector, even agricultural sector. The other time I said in this program that we don't need more people in the agri sector. No, we only need to carry out mechanized farming. We need to provide irrigation for the farmers, provide improved seed varieties to farmers, so that we can boost agri production. 2% of the population in the agri sector can really feed us in this country.
Hold on for a minute. If I get you right, because of the cry, what a lot of Nigerians are saying, even the federal government is everybody should go back to farm. Everybody should go back to farm. But you seem to differ in opinion by saying instead of everybody going back to the farm, the few that are in the farm already should be empowered so that they can carry out mechanized farming. The machineries do the most of the farming. Why they just coordinate?
Of course, like for example now,
that is better than everyone going into.
State government, federal government can subsidize, all these heavy machinery, heavy machineries used in this sector. If you go to abroad, you see machinery machines that harvest the rice. That have you need to do all these things yourself. Only one person can operate the machine, can harvest crops on 10 acres of land. Instead of having 300 people working on this farm, these are good ways of agriculture for Christ's sake. The world has left this kind of agriculture. So that's why I'm saying I don't personally believe that more people should go into farming. Instead, let's invest on mechanization, let's invest on irrigation, let's invest on improved seed varieties for the farmers so that we can boost food production in the country, and of course we can have a food security. So that's what we need. Now we're talking about greenhouse farming. I don't know if you heard about that. We need to invest in this area, subsidize what is subsidizable for farmers so that people can go to mechanized farming, not subsistence farming, so that we can really boost the food production in the country.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much for joining us on the conversation today. Well, it's been the voice of Dennis. Dennis is an economic development and he's an economist, he's a researcher, economic researcher, and of course he's a data analyst. We've been able to look at the GDP, the growth, who contributed to the growth, and the lapses that we have and what we need to do. Despite the fact that we have a little reduction, an increment in the GDP, that's not enough. But then we are picking up a little, and more needs to be done by the federal government and every other person so that all hands can be on deck and we can have something better in 2025. But the bottom line is, like he said, Nigerians are waiting for when they can feel something tangible, when they can go to the market and buy foodstuffs very cheap, like we're hearing from the north right now that the price of foodstuff is dropping during this Ramadan period, and we're calling for a sustainability of this process. But then what about the sectors that are contributing to the rise in our GDP? What is the sustainability level and all of that? Dennis has made us to understand that more effort needs to be put in, especially from the agricultural sector and the rest. Many thanks for joining us on Global Morning today, having to discuss the growth of the GDP, the implications, and everything that surrounds it. Once again, thank you for coming, Dennis.
My pleasure, Mr. Ramsey. Always nice to be here.
All right, this is the size of the first conversation. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return for the second conversation and we'll look at the activities of the civil society organizations and the rest of the issues surrounding that area. We'll return after this break. Stay with us.